Tax avoidance in general, and this introduction of the general anti-avoidance rule is intended to. I mean, we've seen quite big changes over recent years on that. With, for example, and I'm surprised they don't mind more than they do. But the accountancy firms having to clear avoidance schemes with HMRC before implementing them with clients. I mean, what used to be the case was that you'd introduce an avoidance scheme. Wait for HMRC or Inland Revenue to find out about it, then they'd close the loophole, and now you have to get them pre-cleared, which seems to me to spoil the game entirely. So we've had that for a while now, and now that is being supplemented by this general anti-avoidance rule. I think the issue for the particular issue with stamp duty, and I think it's as close as they were going to ever come to some kind of mansion tax, something like that. The issue was the properties being high-end properties and some low-end properties. I gather it's a long time since I've bought a house, but I gather if you're buying a house these days, reasonably large mortgage, you will be offered an offshore option, which why don't you put this in an offshore company? It doesn't have to be a 2 million plus property. So it's not just the very high-end properties that we're avoiding stamp duty by putting them into offshore companies. So the clampdown there is 7% on so the idea was that those properties which are held in offshore companies, quite a lot of properties in central London. The particular aim is to get rid of that. So if it's a property that's going to be held within a company, there'll be 15% stamp duty. There will also be capital gains tax charged on when the property is resold, which obviously doesn't apply to residential property. And as Osborne said in the budget, it should be the case that if properties are used for residential purposes, they should be owned by the resident, or owned by not owned by a company. So I think that is the area in which they're clamping down. It sounds very good. It doesn't raise an enormous amount of money, though. Because if you go to Kensington or Knightsbridge, it's not hard to find 2 million plus properties, but in most of the country, they're few and far between. There aren't that many transactions. So I think, again, it's one of those things which, the papers, including my own, have been full of the, people, abusing the system and so on, and, being advised by accountants to abuse it, to avoid tax in that way. But it's not a huge revenue raiser. But I think it sort of gets to what has been perceived to be a source of public anger. Why are we paying stamp duty when so many rich people are avoiding it? And in particular, the idea of so many properties in central London at the high end being foreign owned and avoiding it in that way. But there are other anti-avoidance things in the general anti-avoidance rule. But I am just slightly sceptical when chancellors start talking about raising enormous amounts of money from these things, because it doesn't normally happen.